So one question both for Professor Bunyani and Dr. Ilyas is that despite all the economic slowdown and the problems that India is witnessing, the BJP yet remains as a major political force, winning elections after one another. So how do we understand this phenomenon that the BJP still continues to win elections, and what can we do to oppose that? What can we do next in this regard? So first, Dr. Bunyani can answer, and after that, Dr. Ilyas Sab. Same question.
Yeah, thank you. See, I think BJP now has built up a huge electoral machine, and it is not only the support of corporate support is very much there. Finances are no problem, but more than that, it is backed up by lakhs of volunteers of RSS who do the groundwork for BJP in electioneering. So there are multiple factors I can say. Factor number one, of course, is the RSS volunteers. Number two, the corporate solid backing, money bags, and these electoral bonds, which are mainly coming to BJP. Then thirdly, they are also playing the politics in which the opposition is divided. If you see the maximum number of percentage of votes BJP could garner in 2014 was around 31%, and now I think it went up to 36%. So basically, the opposition vote is divided, and like a solid and very energetic electoral machine, they go and campaign from place to place. Even in Bihar, it was a great surprise to me that BJP coalition could win despite the heavy damage caused to the migrant labor, to the economy in shambles, jobs being lost. So now BJP, in that way, sounds to be sort of a very powerful, invincible party, mainly because of these multiple factors. And a single united opposition is not in sight. And as Wilson pointed out, that now Congress itself has weakened a lot because of multiple factors. Because I do believe that BJP cannot be compared to any other party, because BJP is the only party with a clear-cut agenda of Hindu nation. BJP is the only party which is controlled by RSS. So I won't like to compare BJP with any other party. It will be sort of diluting the criticism against its sectarian nationalism. But surely its willpower and a very energetic volunteers to support it, assisted by the fragmentation of opposition. These are the factors which are leading to BJP's victory over and over. And not to forget its divisive rhetoric, plus the communal violence. Communal violence also helps it to win the elections wherever they are orchestrated. Done.
Okay, next, Dr. Ilyas Sab, the same question also. Another question we got is that how would, with the making of the Congress, and traditionally the Muslims have voted for the Congress in most elections in 1990s to oppose the BJP. So how would the Muslims look at a political future in the current scenario?
Actually, the problems of Muslims is very, I can say, complicated. Because they have been betrayed by secular parties, whether it is Congress Party, Samajwadi Party, RJD, or BSP. Everybody has one way of getting the Muslim vote, that BJP is there. Otherwise, if you did not vote us, BJP will come to power. And on the other side, they did not do anything for the Muslims' development and all this. Unfortunately, Muslims are seeing a hope in form of a communal political outfits like MIM. And MIM's presence, whether it is in Bihar or anywhere else, will definitely benefit the BJP. You can see that whatever has happened in Hyderabad yesterday in municipal corporation election, that BJP won 49 seats from 4 to 49. In 2016, they are 4, and now they are 49. But what they did is that the entire election was fought on Muslim bashing, on the Muslim historical. They were using Nizam and Salar and everything. They brought it there. And even all the prominent leaders of the BJP for a municipal corporation elections, Home Minister and the President of the BJP were there for campaigning. So I can say, I can agree with Dr. Ampuniani sir, that they definitely do hard work. They take all the muscle power, money power, and all these things they employ, and they try to win the election. They try to demolish. For example, first thing they did is that they are trying to demolish Congress party, because they think that at the national level, if there is no single largest secular party, then it is easy for them to manage the regional parties, and they were managing the regional parties in Rajya Sabha. We have seen on many things, on many issues. So what I'm saying is that if we want to fight RSS and BJP, we have to see that all the secular parties. For example, you take the case of Bengal. Now in West Bengal, the election is there. We asked the TMC to have a coalition with Congress and left parties, and although definitely welfare party is also there. So we want a solid coalition. But TMC is not ready for that. TMC thinks that on the one side we will be there, on the other side BJP is there. And so to get the vote of Muslim community, Muslims have a sizable vote in West Bengal. They are 28%. So to get the Muslim vote, they say that the BJP's presence is enough for them to get the Muslim vote. So they don't bother to have an alliance with the other secular parties. So the thing is that if the secular parties are not sincere, if they come together, if they form a greater a solid alliance, they can very well defeat the BJP. But unfortunately, this does not happen. In case of Bihar also, there were some small parties. If the Congress, if RJD and the Congress party would have brought them in their Mahagathbandhan, then the situation would have been different. Thirdly, one more important thing which has not been come up, that is EVM. The managing the EVM is also very easy for the BJP. Yeah, and unfortunately, the independent, autonomous, democratic bodies like Election Commission of India is not independent now. They easily manage it. So if we definitely want to defeat BJP and RSS, then every single issue which can affect the election has to be seriously taken up.
Okay. Thank you, Ilyas Saab.
Shaheen, can I just make a brief comment?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say that there are two things which I think give one cause for hope. One is that although the BJP did win in Bihar, what the left parties did and what up to a point the RJD did, although really the left party, particularly CPIML, was to show that if you are with the people, if you actually work at the ground level, then you get much better results. And of course, the first two sections of that election, they were doing very well. The third lot of voting, the BJP pulled out the communal card in a big way, and of course that caused damage. But despite that, this is there is in some ways a new mood which we must recognize. For example, even Shaheen Bagh and what happened after that, there was a huge movement against the CAA. These are ordinary people. And we see this over and over again. We see the farmers coming out now. And I think while it's I completely agree that it's absolutely important for everyone to unite against the BJP, because the BJP is a fascist party. But I think it also looks as though there must be some recognition of the people's movements which are rising all around us.
Yes, I agree with you completely.
And the next question also to you, Amrit, is that you highlighted the efforts of the Hindutva diaspora here in the UK. So what is it that we can do, the diaspora, the Muslim diaspora, or the other anti-Hindutva diaspora here, the Indian diaspora here in the UK. What is it that they can do in terms of what something we do here will affect things in India?
I think it's very important for us to reach out to younger people. Now, one thing we have to realize is that the Hindutva groups are also extremely oppressive within their communities. If you look at young women, I know many young women who are from Hindu families who would like to speak out, but they are unable to because of the lack of support, because of the terrible threats they receive when they speak out. So we need to reach out to those people and create something new in terms of change. And also, I think we need to continue to protest and make it known to progressive people in Britain as a whole, not only South Asians, but English people. What is happening? When you think about what happened in Chile, what happened in so many other countries, people here were aware that this was fascism. But what is happening in India, only now they're beginning to be slowly aware and think of Modi in the same terms as Bolsonaro, and I think we need to do a lot more work to make that happen.
Okay, thank you, Amrit. There is a question from one of from the Zoom link. The question is to all three. I guess I think all three of you can answer that. That the popularity of the BJP increases with policies and laws that marginalize minorities. What does that say about the majority population? So is hate becoming the new normal in India? That is beyond electoral politics. Is hate becoming the new normal in India? So Dr. Buniani, you can start, and then Ilyas and then Amrit after that.
Yeah, see, I think one of the major things which has been done by RSS through its lacks of volunteers, Swayamsevaks and Pracharaks, is to build a narrative of threat to Hindu community from Muslims and Christians. And of course, they have created a historical module in which a glorified Hindu community has been oppressed by Muslims, attacked by Christians and all that. So that narrative has become very popular, very popularized in the social consciousness. Now, added on to that, of course, the resistance from the other side. No other political party has tried to put forward the narrative which came up in India through Sufi Bhakti tradition, through the national movement led by Gandhi, Maulana Azad and others. So the alternative narrative, the real narrative lies undermined under this, against this narrative created by RSS and propagated successfully through multiple mechanisms. Lately, they also employed social media to a great advantage. They have been doing creating fake news. They have been creating. They have bought up a lot of television section through the corporate support. Lot of media has gone onto their side through various manipulations. So it is right. Partly, I will agree to this, that the popular discourse in people's mind is anti-Muslim. It is anti-Christian, and in a subtle way, it is oppressive to Dalits and women. Now, the only alternative remains that if we want to combat it, definitely we have to highlight the continuum of narratives starting from Bhakti Sufi tradition to Gandhi, and the integrative, the cultures, Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, the Indian culture. But this has to be done by, actually, most of the political parties have been focusing on winning elections. And this ground level work of strengthening fraternity, bringing the communities together, removing the misconceptions, and trying to work at the social level with all their might, that I feel has been unfortunately missing. The secular parties, with all their weaknesses, none of them has focused on this beyond a point. So this is a big challenge to people, politics, all those believe in Indian constitution and pluralism. It is a big challenge to them as to how to create such a machinery, which can communicate the idea of India, the values of Constitution of India, the pluralism, the worth of pluralism, the inclusive character of India's polity over the centuries. This is a big challenge to us, and I think without that, we cannot go far in combating this fascist politics.
Okay, thank you, Professor Bunyani. Dr. Ilyas Saab, you can also answer that question was asked to you as well.
Okay.
That is hate become the new normal? Yes.
The thing is that basically we are focusing more on political issue, political parties and political polity of the country, that the political party may come out with things. But I think that if you want to bring a change and if you want to combat Hindutva fascism, then we should try to involve the people's movement. You know, we have seen that CAA movement was, although it is political, but not started by political parties. And even it is not started by any group or any organization or any leadership was there. It was the people of the country. It was the students of the country. It was the women of the country, those who have come up. And it was, I can say that, a very successful movement. Secondly, you take the case of this farmers issue. Now the farmers have come up. Again, although political parties are there behind it, but the thing is that in the forefront, all the kisans or all the farmers are there. Secondly, I foresee that now it is the time for the students to come out. You know, unemployment is a very big issue in the country. And because of this pandemic, it has increased many folds. So what we feel is that if now next, I think that the students and the youth may come out for their cause. Then thirdly, what we have seen that the women of the country, and they are now in a very bad shape. There are so many rape cases, even the small children are raped, and atrocities are there. So I feel that even the women can come out. So we need social movements. We need the people's movement to come out and make a big issue of the development and all this thing. And if any political party cannot sustain on for hate mongering on non-issues, ultimately the issues concerning the people, the poverty, the unemployment, and inflation, these are the issues which will ultimately matter. So I think that we should try, on the one hand, we should try to bring all the political parties, secular political parties on one platform, and we should try to focus more and more on social movements and people's movement.
Yeah, thank you, Ilyas Saab. And Amrit, yes, you can.
Yeah, I agree with a lot which Dr. Ilyas has said. I just want to add something to it. I think that, again, to draw our example, Bihar is a very interesting example to study. Now, if you look at, for example, the certain constituencies in Bihar, for example, Mahbub Alam, he was a CPIML MLA. He got the biggest share of votes ever, right, in Bihar. Then there was people like Manoj, I can't remember his second name, but his parents were brick kiln workers, also with a very big share of the vote. Now, why did this happen? This happened because, these are people who know what it's like at the ground level. They've worked with the people. But I think there's also another factor which comes in, and that is that I think what these MLAs, these activists did in Bihar was to confront the real issues, right? So they went and they talked in Hindu areas about the CAA. They talked in Hindu areas about Kashmir. And they talked about how the CAA would actually damage Hindus as well. And I think that is very important to do. It's very important to be honest, and to actually say what the situation is, not to hold back, not to pretend that everything is okay, right? And I think this makes a huge difference. And I think that is happening, that will happen much more. And with the help of the social movements, I think we can definitely hope for a better
event. So I would like, Strive UK would like to thank Professor Ram Bunyani, Dr. S.K. Ilyas, and Amrit Wilson for enlightening us and also giving us potentials for future activism as well. And we hope that we'll also be able to cooperate and collaborate in the future more.